But today I'm here to do my winter book haul. So these are all the books I'm accumulated in December, January, and February. And this is one of the biggest book hauls I've ever done. I think it may be my biggest book haul I've ever done because I have 31 books. And also keep in mind that I didn't actually buy any books until after Christmas. So most of these were bought in the last 2 months. In order to avoid making this video 10 hours long, I'm going to go ahead and just jump in, and I'm probably not going to talk about the books a ton. So yeah. First, I'm going to haul some books that I got for Christmas. So the first book that I acquired in December was sent to me by my friend Lex, and it is called The Sawbones Book by Justin McElroy and Dr. Sydney McElroy. This is apparently based on a podcast that I have not listened to, but it sounds interesting, and it has something to do with like weird, like medical type cases, but it's supposed to be done in a humor way. Sounds interesting. I've kind of flipped through it and it looks interesting. So I'm not sure when I'm going to read this, but it sounds intriguing. So looking forward to jumping into this at some point. Next, I have The 41 by Blue Sanders. I actually have known Blue for a long time now, and I've been meaning to read this book. This is a memoir about Blue and his dad. So I'm excited to finally have my hands on this so I can get to reading it. And the last book that I got for Christmas was actually a set, and that is The Kane Chronicles by Rick Riordan. I got this box set of the trilogy, and these books have to do with Egyptian mythology. I'm looking forward to diving into these. I try to only read one of his series at a time, and right now I'm in the middle of the Magnus Chase series, but this will be the next series of his that I read, and I'm really excited to have the box set because they all just look so nice and pretty lined up together. So moving on, shortly after Christmas, Barnes & Noble had one of their book haul blowout sales, and I of course had to take advantage of that, and I ended up getting 2 books. The first one I got is A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahereh Mafi. This is her contemporary novel. I think it's the only contemporary she's released so far, and it is about a Muslim girl shortly after the events of 9/11. I believe this talks about like what Muslim people had to deal with after 9/11 happened, but it's also a contemporary love story. I believe the main character in this story is a breakdancer as well, and I've heard that this is really great, and I believe that Tahereh Mafi wrote a lot of things, like similar things that happened to her during that time frame in this as well, and I'm really looking forward to picking this one up. And at that book sale, I also got Escaping from Houdini by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the 3rd and final book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper trilogy. I actually haven't heard a ton of people talking about this, to be honest, but I'm hoping it's just as good as the first 2 books. And it's certainly bigger than the first 2 books, which is interesting. But I'm looking forward to diving into this one. And it's the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, so there's some bonus content, which is exciting. And the last book I got in the month of December is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And this is the World Cloud Classics edition, which is the edition of classics, one of the editions of classics that I collect. So I ended up stumbling upon this and decided to pick it up because I've been wanting to read Jane Eyre anyway, and this is the edition that I've been wanting, so it seemed perfect. Moving on to January, so one of the first things I did in January was I went to McKay's because my friend was visiting me from out of town, and she had not been there before, and so I had to show her the magical world that is McKay's, which is one of Nashville's local used bookstores, and ended up finding 3 of my like most desired books while I was there, so it was great. The first of which I was most excited about is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I was shocked to find this there so soon, but this is a over $30 book, and I got it like half price. And it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it. So I was so excited to pick this up. I have not read this yet. I actually have the audiobook on hold at the library because she reads it, so I would really like to listen to it. But it has taken a few months, and I still don't have it yet. But I will definitely be reading this very, very soon. And at McKay's on that trip, I also picked up the next 2 books in the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy, China Rich Girlfriend and Rich People Problems, both by Kevin Kwan. I read Crazy Rich Asians towards the end of last year and really enjoyed it. I also saw the movie and really liked the movie, so I wanted to continue on in the trilogy. And they happen to have both of these, which was very exciting. So I can dive into the rest of it. I'm actually listening to the second one right now. But yeah, I was really excited to find these, and they all are the same cover as the first one that I have, so they're all gonna look so pretty on my shelves once I get them all read. Alright, the next four books I have are actually from Book Outlet because they had their Boxing Day sale, and I took advantage of it. I got a couple of like future gifts for people, and then I also got some books for me as well. So the first one is this beautiful paper mill press edition of The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. It's got this like soft cover, and it's just really, really beautiful. And of course, for those of you that watch my channel, you know that this is my favorite classic, and I have several editions of this book. I kind of collect these, so I think this is my 5th copy of The Wizard of Oz. And it was just so pretty and not very expensive, so I just had to add it to my collection. I also acquired Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. This is kind of a memoir by Shonda Rhimes. Of course, Shonda Rhimes is the creator of very, very many TV shows, the most famous being Grey's Anatomy, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. And I've watched other shows by her as well. And she's someone I really admire, but she took a year of her life at some point, I don't know what year, and she basically challenged herself to say yes to everything, or pretty much everything, and challenge herself to do more things that she was scared of or whatever. So I think it's kind of part talking about that and part a memoir. I'm really excited to read this. I was hoping to read this past month for Feminist Lit February, and I just didn't get around to it. But I still want to make this a priority very soon. I will probably also listen to the audiobook for this because I believe Shonda reads it herself. So I'm really excited to have this in my collection now. I also got Queens of Fennbirn by Kendara Blake. This is a set of, I believe, 2 novellas that take place in the Three Dark Crowns universe, and I love that series. So when I saw this on Book Outlet, I decided to go ahead and pick this up instead of reading like an ebook version of the novellas. And I have not read this yet either, but I'm planning on jumping back into this series very soon. So that will include this as well. And I'm glad that I have the physical version to set with the rest of the books in the series on my shelves once I do. And the last book I got from Book Outlet is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. This is a book that I've been meaning to read for years. And so I decided to take advantage and purchase a copy since it was cheap. This is supposed to be a really, really great book. It's also a great movie. I love the movie. So I'm curious to see kind of how the book differs from the movie, because I did really like the movie. I thought it was really well done. But I haven't read this, so really, really looking forward to diving into this soon. The next book I have is one that I actually went to a book signing for, and I was super excited about this signing, and I'm super excited to read this book. It's going to be one of my next reads for sure, and that is The Wicked King by Holly Black. Holly Black came to Parnassus in Nashville, and I absolutely had to go because I really enjoyed the cool print. So I got her to sign it for me, which was really cool. And she also gave out these really pretty postcards of Jude and Carden, and I haven't decided what to do with mine yet, but it's really pretty. I may just stick it up on my shelf somewhere. But yeah, this is the sequel to The Cruel Prince, which it made my top 10 list last year. I really enjoyed it, and I have heard that this is better. So I'm really excited to read this, and I will be getting to it very soon. The next book I have was January's Owl Crate pick, and that is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Choksi. I actually don't know a ton about this. I believe it has to do with a heist. But I'm not sure if it's like, it looks like it's fantasy, but I think it may be more like historical fiction from what I've heard. I'm not really sure, but it's a beautiful cover, and I have heard really good things about it. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one. And the next book I have is one that I am very excited to read, and that is Two Dark Reigns by Kendara Blake. This is the 3rd book in the Three Dark Crowns series, and basically the only reason I haven't read this yet is because I was doing a reading challenge the whole month of February. But I'm going to read this very, very soon, because I'm, like I said earlier, I'm obsessed with this series. It's so good, and I need to know what happens. The next book I have is one that I was really looking forward to this year. It was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and that is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is a new series by Leigh Bardugo that takes place in her Grishaverse. I believe it takes place both after the Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology, but we follow Nikolai, who is a main character from the Grisha trilogy. And I believe Zoya from the Grisha trilogy and Nina from the Six of Crows duology also are in this book. So it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't read this yet because I'm trying to reread the Grisha trilogy first because I don't remember as much of what happened in that as I do the Six of Crows books. But again, once I catch myself up with the audiobooks for the Grisha trilogy, I will be diving into this. I've actually heard mixed things about it, so I'm a little nervous going into it. But I'm still really, really looking forward to reading it, and I got the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, and there's this poster inside, but this book is beautiful. Like, let's just take a second and appreciate how gorgeous this book is. The next several books are all books I also got at McKay's on various trips. The one I am probably most excited to have is actually one that I've read, but it's my favorite standalone book ever, and you probably know what it is if you watch my videos, and of course, it's The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I already have the paperback of this, but I found this beautiful hardcover edition at McKay's. It's the Book of the Month version, but now I have both versions, and I actually like this cover better. So I picked it up, and I'm really happy that I have this because it's beautiful. And I love this book so much. Speaking of Taylor Jenkins Reid, I have not read any of her other books, so I'm trying to accumulate the rest of her books so that way I can dive into them, and because I've heard that a lot her other books are really good as well. The only other one they had at that time was Maybe in Another Life, and I'm actually planning on reading this one pretty soon as well. I don't really know what this one's about. I think it has to do with a woman who like runs into someone that she knew from like a long time ago, and it's a guy, and it follows like what happens if she goes home with them that night and what happens if she doesn't. I think it's something like that, but I've heard that this one's really good, and I'm excited to add this to my collection. On that same trip, I also picked up Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is a new series by Marissa Meyer that I've heard is just absolutely fantastic, and I don't know anything about the plot other than it has to do with superheroes. But people have just been raving and raving about this series basically since it came out, and I want to get on the train before all of the books are out because 2 of them are already out. So since they had the hardcover of the first book at McKay's, I went ahead and picked it up. Sorry, my camera died. I don't remember what I was talking about. I know I was talking about Renegades, but yeah, I don't know if I've heard a single negative thing about this book, so I decided to go ahead and pick it up. I'll probably listen to the audiobook because it's read by Rebecca Soler, who is a great narrator. But I'm excited to dive into this and get on the hype train for it. And the last book I found at that particular trip to McKay's is Landline by Rainbow Rowell. I have read Rainbow Rowell's 3 YA books, but I have not read either of her adult books. I own Attachments, I just haven't read it yet. But I didn't own Landline. And I love this cover. I love all the colors on it. So I went ahead and picked this up because it was like $3. And I love Rainbow Rowell's YA books, so I feel like I'll like her adult books a lot as well. Then I made a second McKay's trip because they were having this like Harry Potter night. And I picked up a couple books while I was at that, and they are both Taylor Jenkins Reid books. So I've managed to find After I Do and One True Loves to add to my Taylor Jenkins Reid collection. So let me know in the comments which book I should start with. I think I'm gonna start with Maybe in Another Life, but I could be convinced to change my mind. Next, I have 2 books that I got for Valentine's Day because my boyfriend and I gave each other books. And he got me The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. This, I believe, has to do with a bookshop. I don't really know a whole lot else about it. I actually had heard of it before, and I've heard that it's really good. But it's an adult fiction book, and I'm really excited to read it. It's a very short book as well, but I am planning on reading this very soon as well. And then we also got each other like this mystery book that we actually found at McKay's. They were like wrapped up, so we didn't know what the book was when we got it for the other person, but the one he ended up getting for me is called The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The War of the Worlds by Manly W. Wellman and Wade Wellman. And I believe, from what I understand, it's just more Sherlock stories, but I think this one has to do with aliens, so I'm here for it. Next is another book that I got at a book signing, and I was very excited to go to this signing, and that book is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. This is another one of my most anticipated books of the year because I absolutely love The Hate U Give and was very excited to see Angie was coming to Nashville on her tour stop. I also got it signed by her, which was really cool. She wasn't feeling super well that night, so she didn't really sign more than just one book per person, which is totally fine. But I was just excited to attend the event, get to hear her speak. She talked about a lot of really important things, and then I got to meet her, and it was really cool, and I'm so excited to read this. We are almost done. I also acquired An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. I actually read this a long time ago, but I had kind of an ugly cover, and my boyfriend was getting rid of his copy, so I took it because it's a much cuter cover. He was also getting rid of Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, and this is a book that I've kind of had my eye on for a few years now, and I've heard that it's good, so I decided to snag it as well. And the very last book I got at Barnes & Noble, and that is the Barnes & Noble exclusive collector's edition of The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I know this is being turned into a movie soon, so I wanted to read it before the movie came out, and I've heard that it's really good. It's a beautiful book. The Barnes & Noble exclusive edition has purple sprayed edges, and I don't know what color the other book is, but this one's orange, and it's just so pretty. But yeah, I've heard that this is a really, really great contemporary, and I would like to see the movie, so I decided to get the book so I could read it before the movie comes out, and I wanted this specific edition, so yes. So that is all 31 books that I got in the last few months. Yikes. Let me know down in the comments what I should read first, and maybe you can convince me to prioritize some over others. And I will see you guys next time with another video.